Every few hours it's another story. Fans denied, players denied, officials denied, journalists denied, now refs. That was Ian Wright speaking this morning, his voice cracking somewhere between disbelief and fury. He said he was laughing, but it wasn't funny. It actually wasn't funny. He called it a World Cup of chaos, and he said it just hours before the biggest story of this entire turbulent build-up broke. A World Cup referee, the first Somali official ever selected for a men's World Cup, denied entry to the United States and removed from the officiating roster. His historic moment gone before a single match was played. Not because of something he did, not because of something he said. Because of where he was born. Because Somalia is on a list. Because at Miami International Airport carrying a diplomatic passport issued by his embassy, fully accredited by FIFA, he was deemed inadmissible due to vetting concerns, and put on a plane home. That happened today, June 9, 2026, the day before the World Cup begins. And that was not the only story. Within hours, Iran's Football Federation claimed that FIFA had revoked its entire ticket allocation for its 3 group stage matches. Not a reduction. Not a partial withdrawal. The federation said it was unable to offer even a single ticket to national team supporters. Iran's players are sleeping in Tijuana and crossing the border on match days. Their officials have been denied visas. Their supporters, the ones who have followed this team through qualifiers, through years of commitment, cannot get a single seat. And then there is Nigeria. Not at this World Cup for the second consecutive time. Africa's self-described biggest football nation watching from home while their diaspora talent plays for France and Switzerland and Germany. John Obi Mikel, their greatest captain, said what needed to be said. He called it a failure, a disaster. He said the entire board of the Nigeria Football Federation should resign. And he said something that cuts to the heart of what football means to places like Nigeria. Football is the one thing that holds Nigeria together, the one thing that cuts across religion and tribe and the economic difficulty of daily life. When Nigeria plays, everyone watches, everyone supports, everyone feels joy together. That joy has been taken from them twice in a row. Tomorrow, the 2026 World Cup begins. The Estadio Azteca in Mexico City will host the opening match between Mexico and South Africa. 83,000 people in a stadium where Pelé and Maradona made history. And the tournament that has been the subject of more controversy, more debate, and more genuine institutional turbulence than any in the competition's modern history, will finally answer the question that has been hanging over it for months. Can the football overcome everything surrounding it? That question will have to wait until tomorrow, because today, the final day before the World Cup begins, the off-field story produced the most concentrated and dramatic single day of news in the entire build-up. Let's go through all of it, starting with the story that had Ian Wright reaching for his phone. Omar Abdulkadir Artan is 34 years old. He is Somali. He has worked his way through the ranks of African football officiating to the point where he was selected as one of 52 referees for the 2026 World Cup. That selection was, by every measure, a historic one. He would have been the first referee from Somalia ever to officiate at a men's World Cup. Not just a personal achievement, a moment of genuine significance for a country that has faced extraordinary difficulty and that has a football community that deserved that pride. Last weekend, Artan arrived at Miami International Airport. He carried a diplomatic passport issued by the Somali embassy. He had been through FIFA's accreditation process. He had been selected and confirmed as part of the officiating roster. At Miami Airport, he was subjected to what Customs and Border Protection described as additional inspection, a routine part of the process when officers need to verify information or determine admissibility. Following that inspection, he was determined to be inadmissible due to vetting concerns. He was denied entry. He was put on a flight home. Somalia is one of the countries subject to a complete travel ban implemented by the United States government. FIFA confirmed what had happened in a statement that was, even by the standards of institutional language, remarkable in its brevity and its deflection. It confirmed that Artan would be unable to train and officiate at the 2026 World Cup after being denied entry. It confirmed that it is not involved in host country immigration processes. It confirmed that a host government ultimately determines who receives a visa and who is admitted. And it confirmed that the decision will not be changed. Artan himself responded with a dignity that made the whole episode even more painful to read. He said he was in a positive mood and focused on the next challenges in his refereeing career. He thanked FIFA and the continental governing body for their support, and he said he promised to keep his refereeing levels up as he concentrates on the future. a man who had worked his entire career toward a moment that was taken from him at an airport, responding with composure and grace. Somalia's Ministry of Youth and Sports said he had a valid visa. The reason for his inadmissibility was described only as vetting concerns. No further detail was provided. Ian Wright found out and did what Ian Wright does. He spoke on his Instagram to his millions of followers in a video that was shared hundreds of thousands of times within hours. He said he had just read that the Somali referee had been denied entry. Every few hours, he said, it's another story. Fans denied. Players denied. Officials denied. Journalists denied. Now refs. He said he was laughing, but it wasn't funny. It actually wasn't funny. He said something had to be said. He talked about the expensive tickets, the most expensive ever, the expensive accommodation, the transport costs. He asked directly, is this how the hosts behave for the greatest tournament in the world? Is this the spirit of football? He said he felt most for the American fans who are desperate for this, who have been waiting for this. How embarrassed they must be. He called it a World Cup of chaos. Those are not the words of someone searching for controversy. They are the words of a man who has spent his life in football, who was present in Turin in 1990, when the World Cup last felt like it was moving through something larger than itself, who will be working as a pundit covering this tournament, and who looked at the sequence of events surrounding it and reached a conclusion that he felt compelled to say out loud. Every few hours, another story. He was right, because within hours of the referee story breaking, a second story arrived that was even more extraordinary in its implications. Iran's Football Federation issued a statement claiming that FIFA had revoked its entire ticket allocation for its 3 group stage matches in the United States. Every federation at a World Cup is entitled to receive and distribute 8% of stadium capacity for each of its matches. For Iran, playing at a 70,000-seat stadium in Inglewood against New Zealand on the 15th of June, then Belgium in Inglewood on the 21st, then Egypt in Seattle on the 26th, that allocation amounts to several thousand tickets per game. Those tickets are typically distributed to the federation's most loyal supporters, the fans who follow their team home and away, who have attended qualifiers, who have invested years of commitment to their national team. The federation said in its statement that, on an unexpected move, the allocation granted to it had been withdrawn, that under the current circumstances, it was unable to offer even a single ticket to national team supporters, not a reduced allocation, not a partial withdrawal, not one ticket. The federation cannot offer its supporters a single seat to watch their team at a World Cup they qualified for. Iran's supporters had been subject to a travel ban since last year. The allocation, when it was distributed, went primarily to Iranians in the diaspora, including those already living in the United States who were not subject to the ban and who could have attended the matches. Some of those people purchased tickets. What happened to those purchases in the wake of the claimed revocation was unclear at the time of this writing. FIFA did not immediately respond to the federation's claims with a public statement confirming or denying the revocation. That silence in the context of what was being alleged was itself significant. Iran's players arrived in Tijuana on Sunday. Fans waved to them as they entered their training base. Federation officials have been denied visas to enter the United States. The team crosses the border on match days and returns to Mexico each night. And now the federation claims the tickets that would have been distributed to their supporters have been taken back. A team at their 7th World Cup, unable to offer supporters tickets to their own matches, sleeping in one country and playing in another, with officials denied the ability to enter the venue where their team competes. Think about what the cumulative picture of Iran's experience at this World Cup looks like. The sports minister said, under no circumstances can we participate. A diplomatic intervention from Mexico's president made participation possible. The federation boycotted the draw ceremony in Washington. Some officials can't get visas. The team's base is in Tijuana, and now the federation claims their entire supporter ticket allocation has been revoked. That is not a story about one decision or one policy. That is a story about a qualified World Cup nation navigating conditions that no other team in the competition's history has been asked to manage. Now shift the picture entirely. Because alongside these stories of institutional failure and individual loss, today also carried a different kind of football news, the kind that reminds you why you love the sport in the first place. Marcelo Bielsa is taking Uruguay to the World Cup. Il Loco, the most obsessive, most meticulous, most eccentric tactical mind the game has produced in the past 3 decades. The man who watched so much football footage that opposing clubs built special rooms to accommodate his viewing sessions. Who once spent an entire pre-match night sleeping in the technical area of an empty stadium to understand the sightlines? Who managed Argentina, Chile, Athletic Bilbao, and Marseille with an intensity that his players described as simultaneously terrifying and life-changing? He took over Uruguay's national team and guided them through qualification. Uruguay arrived at this World Cup in Group H alongside Mexico, South Africa, and the Czech Republic, the opening group, the one that began everything. A fascinating tactical contest between Bielsa's organized, intense pressing football and Javier Aguirre's Mexico in the country that has adopted him as one of their own. Bielsa's Uruguay squad carries Darwin Nunez, Federico Valverde, Rodrigo Bentancur, players of genuine European-level quality. And they carry the particular spirit that Uruguayan football has always carried to World Cups, the sense that they represent a country too small to have any right to be feared, and too proud to let that stop them. He is one of the most iconic coaching figures in the history of football, and nobody, as one assessment of the tournament's contenders put it, has any idea what he's going to do next. That unpredictability is itself a joy. In a tournament surrounded by institutional noise, the presence of Marcelo Bielsa at a World Cup is a reminder that this competition also belongs to the genuinely extraordinary, to the managers who approach the game as a problem so complex and so beautiful that a lifetime of obsessive study is the only appropriate response. And then there is Nigeria. Not at this World Cup for the second consecutive time. Africa's self-described biggest football nation watching the tournament open without them, with a diaspora of talent playing for other nations. Michael Olise for France, Manuel Akanji for Switzerland, Jamal Musiala for Germany. Players born to Nigerian parents or with Nigerian heritage representing some of the strongest squads in the field. Nigeria's own team lost on penalties to the Democratic Republic of Congo in the qualification playoff final in Rabat. A 4-3 shootout loss that ended one of the most chaotic qualification campaigns in the Super Eagles' history. 4 different coaches during the cycle, a penalty loss to Ghana in the previous qualification, and now this. John Obi Mikel did not stay silent. He never does when Nigerian football fails the people who love it. On his podcast and in public appearances on British sports radio, he said what needed to be said. He called it a failure, a disaster. He said those words carefully, and he meant them. He said, "Football is the one thing that holds Nigeria together, the one thing that cuts across religion and tribe and the economic difficulty of daily life. Whether you are Hausa or Yoruba or Igbo, Muslim or Christian, when Nigeria plays, everyone watches, everyone supports, everyone feels joy together." And for the second time in a row, that joy had been taken from the people by an administration he described as failing at every level. He said the entire board of the Nigeria Football Federation should resign, not as a populist statement, but as a considered position from someone who played at 2 World Cups, who understands what the preparation and the management of a national team actually requires, and who watched his country fail to qualify with one of Africa's deepest talent pools. He said even winning the Africa Cup of Nations wouldn't remove the pain of missing a World Cup. He said Nigeria belongs on the biggest stage, and that nothing else comes close. What connects all 4 of these stories? Arten's denial at Miami airport, Iran's revoked ticket allocation, Bielsa's Uruguay and Nigeria's absence, is that they all, in different ways, reveal something essential about what the World Cup is supposed to be and what it has actually become. The tournament that was designed to represent football's universality has opened its doors to 48 nations and simultaneously closed them to a Somali referee traveling on a diplomatic passport. It has revoked a qualified nation's supporter ticket allocation days before their first match. It has produced a coaching story in Bielsa that is pure football joy, completely untouched by institutional noise. And it has left the continent's most populous football nation watching from home, their greatest captain asking the same question that Nigeria's supporters are asking: how did this happen again? Ian Wright's phrase, World Cup of Chaos, will follow this tournament. It is not an unfair description of the 9th of June alone. It captures something about the accumulated experience of following this competition's preparation over the past several months. But chaos is not the whole story, because tomorrow the Estadio Azteca opens, because Bielsa sits in a technical area somewhere in North America, probably having not slept, probably reviewing footage of South Africa that no one else thought to watch. Because the players of 48 nations, including Iran's players in Tijuana who have managed more adversity in their preparation than any squad in World Cup history, are ready. The football is ready. And here is the thing about football that this tournament, for all its institutional failures, cannot change. When it starts, it starts. The moments arrive regardless. They are indifferent to subpoenas and revoked ticket allocations and referees denied at airports. They happen because players of genuine quality under maximum pressure on the biggest stage produce things that nobody planned and nobody could have scripted. That is what begins tomorrow. And that is what will still be true on the 19th of July. If you found this worth your time, a like helps more than you think. Subscribe if you enjoy thoughtful football coverage, and let me know your view in the comments. I read everyone. See you tomorrow.